The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the wrong kind. The kind where even your heartbeat sounds too loud, like it doesn't belong. 1 second, I'd been standing on the observation deck of the Artemis relay station, staring out at the blue curve of Earth and wondering why I'd agreed to take a 6-month off-world contract as a cultural analyst. The next, the stars vanished. The deck dissolved, and the universe blinked. When reality snapped back into focus, I was no longer alone. I stood in a vast circular chamber carved from something that looked like polished obsidian threaded with veins of living light. The air felt heavier, charged, as if gravity itself was paying closer attention. Around me rose towering figures, alien, unmistakably so, arrayed in a perfect ring. I opened my mouth. No sound came out. Before panic could fully bloom, a voice echoed inside my head, not loud, but impossibly clear. Do not resist. That was when I saw her. She stood at the far end of the chamber, elevated on a crystalline dais. Tall, poised, unmistakably regal. Her form was humanoid but refined beyond human symmetry, skin like moonlit bronze, eyes luminous and ancient, crowned by a circlet that pulsed with soft energy. The aliens around us lowered themselves in unison. Kneeling. Oh no, I thought. The voice returned, layered now with dozens of harmonics. By the accord of continuance, the bond is complete. Something cold closed around my wrist. I looked down to see a band of light forming, solidifying, locking into place like a shackle made of stars. I tried to scream. The woman on the dais stepped forward. Her gaze met mine, steady and unreadable. I am Empress Calith of the Veari Dominion, she said aloud, her voice resonating through the chamber and directly into my bones. And by the laws older than your species, you are now my husband. No warning, no choice. Just like that. Middle. They didn't give me time to argue. I was escorted, if you could call being surrounded by silent, armored aliens escorted, to a private chamber that made luxury suites look like storage closets. The walls shifted color with my emotional state, which was currently hovering somewhere between existential terror and absolute disbelief. A door sealed behind me with a sound like a final judgment. Minutes later, or hours, time felt strange here. Calith entered alone. Up close, she was even more intimidating. Not because of size or strength, but because of presence. She carried herself like someone who had never once questioned her right to command. You are afraid, she observed. Congratulations, I snapped. You abducted me and forced me into an alien marriage. Gold star for insight. She tilted her head. Your defiance is human. That's one word for it. She didn't react with anger. Instead, she walked to the far window, where a massive alien world glowed beneath us. Oceans of violet, continents traced with light. You were chosen because you are human, she said. Specifically, because you are unimportant. That stung more than I expected. Thanks. In our society, she continued, power attracts power. Alliances become weapons. For generations, the Dominion has nearly collapsed under internal conflict. I cross my arms. And marrying me fixes that how? She turned back to face me. Because our laws demand that the Empress must take a consort from beyond the Dominion when the continuance approaches. I frowned. The what? The end, she said simply. Or the rebirth. We do not yet know which. She explained then about the continuance, a cyclical phenomenon that destabilized space-time around their star systems. Entire civilizations had fallen apart choosing war over unity. The Empress's bond was meant to symbolize neutrality, change, and renewal. And you picked a random human? I asked. You are not random, Caliph said. You are safe. I laughed bitterly. I don't feel safe. Nor do I, she admitted. That surprised me. Over the following days, I learned the truth. The marriage wasn't about love. It was about survival. The Veari people believed a mind untouched by their politics could anchor the continuance ritual. My mind. Human minds apparently had a strange resistance to certain space-time effects. Our chaotic neural patterns, once considered primitive, acted as stabilizers. Humanity didn't know this. The Dominion did. And now so did I. I wasn't a husband. I was a failsafe. As preparations for the ritual began, cracks appeared in the Dominion's calm facade. Factions opposed the Union. Some wanted me dead. Others wanted to dissect me. A few wanted to overthrow Caliph entirely. One night, alarms blared through the palace. I barely had time to react before Caliph burst into my chamber, armor replacing her ceremonial robes. Come with me, she ordered. We fled through corridors as energy blasts shook the walls. At one point, she shielded me with her own body, deflecting a strike meant for my head. You could have let me die, I said as we ran. Would have solved a lot of problems. Her jaw tightened. I do not sacrifice what is mine. That word, mine, hit harder than I expected. We reached a sanctuary chamber beneath the palace, ancient and humming with power. The ritual site. There is no more time, Caliph said. The continuance has begun. The chamber trembled. Reality warped at the edges of my vision. I didn't choose this. I shouted. No, she said softly. But you stayed. She was right. I could have resisted. I could have tried to sabotage everything. But somewhere along the way, I'd seen her people, their cities, their children, their fear of annihilation. Humanity would have done the same. I took her hand. Tell me what to do. Ending. The ritual was unlike anything I'd imagined. I stood at the center of a spiraling lattice of light, Caliph beside me, our joined hands acting as a conduit. The chamber peeled open into something vast, space folded inward, stars stretching into impossible shapes. I felt the continuance pressing against my mind, testing it, pushing. Human thoughts surged up instinctively, memories of Earth, of chaos and stubborn survival, of a species that refused to go quietly into extinction. I didn't try to impose order. I embraced the mess. The lattice stabilized. The Dominion star stopped tearing itself apart. When it was over, I collapsed, exhausted but alive. Caliph knelt beside me, her expression finally unguarded. It is done, she whispered. You saved us. No, I said weakly. We did. The aftermath was swift. The rebellious factions fell silent, stripped of influence. The people hailed Caliph not just as Empress, but as the one who had changed tradition without destroying it. And me? I was no longer a failsafe. I was a symbol. Months passed. I learned their language, their customs. Caliph and I argued, laughed, learned each other's silences. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real. One evening, standing together on the palace balcony, watching twin moons rise, she asked me a question. If you had been given a choice, she said, would you have stayed? I thought of Earth, of my old life. Then I thought of this world, on the brink, now alive. I would have walked away, I admitted. She nodded. Then I am grateful, I added, that I wasn't given one. Her hand found mine. No warning, no choice. And yet, somehow, I'd become exactly where I belonged.